I invited Trent and or his co-host to join us after I saw a post on X. You know what? Let's get that out of the way. Let's start there. And I know you're going to have to speak for your co-host here.
That's okay.
But I believe I can.
I'm happy to.
I believe I already have this.
Yeah.
So I was a bit perplexed, annoyed, agitated, all those things by this comment that we're going to play here in just a second. Let me find it. Got it right here. Okay, folks. So
like you need sunglasses and a mask to like rolling your eyes when they're going, oh wait, and then like all this type of stuff. It's coming.
They're the worst. I can't stand them. They think they're just like God's gift to college football, and it's just like you're not even close, really, if we're being honest. And listen, Indiana is about to be God's gift to college football. Thank you to our Lord and Savior Kurt Signetti. But like,
amen.
Historically, good program. You're not Notre Dame. You're not USC. You're not Alabama. You're not even like Florida, kind of like. You're not even in a way LSU. Like, no. You're not. You're just kind of the best of the Big Ten East for years. So like, pipe it down some. I'm not excited about it, but I do expect that the Indiana.
Okay. So
yeah.
Hang on just a second. Let me cut this off. There we go.
Yeah.
So let me start with this, Trent. So for me personally, I conducted this show for a long, long time, and nobody knew who I rooted for. And then I finally let it out. I grew up in Ohio. I'm an Ohio State fan, so everybody's comfortable with that and has known that for years. I don't know if you're familiar at all with what we do here or have ever heard of us or anything, but
I know the Indiana guys. They're great.
Yeah, they do a great job. They're amazing. Bradley and Alec. So I have no issue whatsoever with the beginning of that in terms of making fun of other fan bases. We could all make fun of any fan base, and it's at least my viewpoint that every fan base has classy fans, delusional fans, knowledgeable fans, stupid fans, ignorant fans. It runs the gamut. Complete homers or complete pessimists. They all have them to various degrees. And so anybody that's are there obnoxious Ohio State fans, idiot Ohio State, all of that. Yes. I have named Ohio State fans as the dumb fan base of the day here on more than one occasion. Absolutely. So I had no issue. That wasn't it. It's when we started to make comparisons about Ohio State's status in college football that I found this to be quite ludicrous, because we're talking about, especially we're bringing up LSU and Florida, let alone Notre Dame, which Ohio State, I think, has beaten 6 straight times and won something like close to 20 major bowl games since Notre Dame before last season, won a major bowl. Like, there's no comparison between what these two teams and schools have done in the last 30 years. It's laughable. Ohio State has the best winning percentage in college football the last 10 years, the last 20 years, the last 50 years, the last 70 years. And you know what? The greatest percentage in college football history. Like, we are talking about, arguably, I'm not going to say that Ohio State's the greatest program in history, but I would make that argument. I think it's arguable. I think there's 3 or 4 that you could argue. But they certainly have a claim as being one of those and have the argument as the number 1 program in history. So to place programs like Florida and LSU over Ohio State, to me, is completely laughable.
Well, Mark, first of all, I do want to just apologize for my lighting, because I'm buying all new podcast equipment from all the clicks I've been getting from Ohio State fans over the last few days. So, I can't defend Tim on the statement. You saw my reaction. I'm a very known Florida hater on the podcast, and Florida State, Miami, and some of those Florida schools, because of their perceived recruit. It's National Signing Day, right? This is Florida's like Super Bowl, the state of Florida. Like they always sign the best recruits, and they're always falling short, right? And that is how I perceive it, I think what Tim was going on, besides just I'm going to take the most hyperbolic side of an argument, is that Ohio State benefited for years being in what the Big Ten, where we know until recently that the Big Ten was not as good as what we were seeing from SEC teams, right? And I think that's where he was coming from. Having said that, do I think he's right? No, but I think that that's probably where his angle was. Ohio State is an elite program, and I think Ryan Day has actually taken them to another level beyond arguably what even Urban Meyer did. I know Urban was undefeated against the team up north and that whole thing, and so like he's like in hallowed grounds. But I just look at what Ryan Day's doing with this team and the consistency and with the history that you just laid out perfectly. They are one of the greatest programs in college football for sure.
Okay. And again, as soon as you popped on the screen and I realized who I was talking to, I don't want to put you in a position to speak for somebody else, because obviously your words are your words. And I thought that was laughable. But
Mark, I will say I'm starting the podcast tomorrow, and I've already told Tim I'm going to ask him if he would like to apologize to Ohio State fans. That is how I'm going to start. We're recording our preview podcast, and that is the first thing I'm going to say to him.
I don't think me personally, he doesn't have to take advice from me. I don't think he has anything to apologize for. I have certainly made statements on here. Like I guesstimated the other day, I've done like 12,000 live streams. So obviously I've said stupid things that a little bit later said, okay, wait a minute. I wasn't really thinking that through. Or I was trying to make a point like your co-host was. I am having a really strange thing with StreamYard where I keep popping up the banner I just built for you. And then it like fades away. And I've never seen that before, but just want to make sure that people know where to find you.
Yeah.
And your podcast.
Yeah, I think for us, Tim is you're from Ohio, like what you're saying. Yeah. Like Tim is what we call from the region in Indiana, Hammond, Indiana. Okay. You know, what the Christmas story was actually like based off of that city. He was just built in that region, that mindset. He's a Bears fan, right? The worst pro existence fandom probably there is, and they're having a great year this year, which probably will mean that they will end in heartbreak. So I think he's just he just wanted to poke the bear a little bit, and Florida was a good one to drop when you're talking about poking the bear, because Florida is obviously nowhere near. I could debate you on which would be a better job, Ohio State or LSU. Like I potentially could have that discussion.
Sure.
But for history of the program, Ohio State's better than both Florida and LSU.
Yeah. So let's get to the game on Saturday. Yeah. And my goodness, I have Ohio State ranked number 1 in the country right now. Just to give you an idea how I do it, I don't go by who I think are the best teams in the country. I try to just simply do a resume ranking. But I had Indiana ranked number 1 for much of the season. Certainly that win against Oregon's about as impressive as any game we've seen this year. So I will admit that Indiana surprised me this year. I thought this was going to be a nice 8-4, 9-3 football team. And certainly they outplayed that and showed that they have gone leaps and bounds even beyond what they showed us last year. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, Curt Cignetti has to be the ire of every coach who takes over a middling football program out there, because there's no more excuse, especially in the Big Ten where you get all this media money that you can do something with. What makes this guy so good?
Well, see, on my Twitter, I'll put out stuff a lot of times that like Curt Cignetti has broken college football programs, like Kentucky firing Mark Stoops. Like I will say that's like a Curt Cignetti effect, right? And you'll hear like Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio will come on and say and point to Indiana's success and Vanderbilt's success and say, well, why can't we do it here? A cool $39 million check to go get the Will Stein out of Oregon. Like that's to try to make a move to get some excitement around the fan base, because even traditional basketball programs, smaller programs, like we can look at Indiana, like we can do it. I think what Curt Cignetti did that probably kind of resonates in, even Tim's ridiculous comments or like what I'm saying on the podcast too, is just instill a confidence at IU. I actually worked at Indiana until November of last year, which is when we started the podcast, once I was no longer employed by IU. And I came away from it of just like, he was the first guy to have this like level of confidence and self-belief that we didn't have to be just a basketball school and just mail in our just take our football check and just fund basketball or academic buildings. We could actually be, he actually said we could be Ohio State. There's no reason why we can't be Ohio State. We're the southernmost school in the Big Ten, so we're near SEC country, and we are a state school that's the size, if not a little bit smaller, than Ohio State is. Now, Ohio State doesn't have a big-time program in the state of Ohio. Sorry, Cincinnati fans, competing against them. But Indiana could sit in that spot. And that's the type of things from day one. That's where the Google me came from, is just that confidence. And I think there's an article in The Athletic today about his whole career has been all about football and confidence. And you hear that from guys, but you watch his interviews, you watch his stuff, and I know it comes across as arrogant and cocky. And if he's not my coach, I'm probably not liking him. But the guys believe, the fans now believe, and I'm walking in Ohio State. Today, I'm not nervous. Saturday, I'll probably be nervous because that's just how I am.
Yeah, well, certainly when he made the famous statement at the basketball game that Purdue sucks. And
yes,
when I heard that, I was okay, sure. Yeah, that's your rival, the old Oak and Bucket. And then he comes in with Michigan and Ohio State. And I'm like, okay, come on, buddy. like tone it down. But you know what? I let it sink in for not long, and I came to the same conclusion you did. I thought they need this at Indiana. They need somebody who's going to go. Why come in and say we're going to do the best we can, and we think we can build something, and we'll try to get to a bowl game, and then still get your head kicked in by Ohio State anyway? Why not just go for it? The only thing I couldn't figure is, would he do this anywhere else, or is he just trying to wake them up and give them a boost of confidence?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that we were nervous about for 2 years, is like, were we the stepping stone to the bigger program? When Penn State opened up this year, it was in the back of my mind, like, he's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you saw his emotion after the game, like, would he be able to do that? I just think one of the things, he's played at West Virginia, played for his dad. He is a lot about legacy and what he can do. And Indiana has shown this level of commitment that's never been shown before. Get the 2 years prior to this, Tom Allen was asked he tried to fire Nick Sheridan, Alabama's offense coordinator, and now his co-offense coordinator is Ryan Grubb, or whatever demotion he took, to fire Nick Sheridan at IU, who followed Kalen DeBoer. And he had to take it out of his salary. And they put that out in the official statement that Tom Allen was taking a pay cut to fire his own offense coordinator after a historically bad year. And now we're hiring a coach for $11 million, right? That was the level of commitment. We got a new president from Georgia. Thank you, Georgia. Go Dogs. And we got an athletic director who is a basketball guy, but he's a true Hoosier, and was like, we could do this. And it's just kind of all come together, and it's made him believe.
I don't dislike Cignetti. I find him captivating, because most of these coaches' sideline interviews at halftime, forget it. I'm moving on to I don't watch commercials. I'm watching football all day set. I'm watching 3 games, no commercials. But I'll stop for Cignetti's halftime coming off the field, because he's this strange combination of he's super confident. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's kind of a bully, not in a bad way, folks. Yep. Just a bully, but he's kind of quirky and awkward too. He's a comedian. He's all this stuff mixed together. It's hilarious.
It's incredible to me to see his honesty. Like, I agree with you. Like, you go get more chicken wings or get a beer or whatever at halftime. I stop and wait. And you can see the national networks will put him on, even if they're losing, even if they're not playing well. Like, they want the Curt Cignetti interview, because it's not the standard, like, packaged interview. And sometimes he says stuff like, I was at Autzen for the Oregon game, and like, there was the stuff that was like, Some people like brownies, some people like cookies, right? Like that was the reaction that like he was basically saying like some people like it, some people don't. And that's his analogy that he comes up with. That's the type of thing that Curt Cignetti is very like just point blank, straight in your face, direct. Now I see some of your comments about Cignetti talking trash and all that type of stuff. This year, he's been way more like, and he's talked about it in the NBC interview he did, like he's been way more suppressed because he felt like last year he had to be like that because of the lack of self-belief and confidence. And I think this year, him and Ryan Day were having a love fest with each other in the pregame interview at the Big Ten. Just talking and being complimentary of the job each of them are doing. And they're both doing a hell of a job. And it's going to be great.
Yeah, so it should be a heck of a game. So help us with Indiana's strategy against Ohio State. Where do you think they could possibly, against a team that shows almost no weaknesses? It was a running game at one point, but now we got Bo Jackson, beating up Michigan, and it looks like they have, much like last season, taken a weakness and made it at least maybe not a huge strength for that team, but at least a decent element there to the offense. So where do you think Indiana might have an advantage?
Well, first say I haven't made my prediction. I still have until tomorrow night when I got to make my prediction on the score and where I'm going to go. Because I'm up in the air. Ohio State's the best team in the country. I really do believe that. And yes, it's a lot. And sorry, Ohio State fans, they get mad at this. We clipped this too, and this went viral on the internet. Ohio State hasn't really played anyone. And they are being put in this position because they have one of the best talented rosters in the country and they won the national championship. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be number one, but they don't like on paper who they've played, who's the best offense that they've played. And I heard all week it's Texas. It's Texas on August 30th against Arch Manning is the best offense that you played. Like Illinois and Luke Altmaier is the best offense that you played, and Indiana beat them by 53 points. So like I am sitting here going, is Ohio State for real? My first inclination is yes. So that's the thing. So where does Indiana come in? All I've heard all week, and I had a clip before the Michigan State game that was like, or Michigan game, where I was like, if Michigan can't get to Julian Saint, Indiana's not winning this game. And they did not. Julian Saint was clean in that pocket. Like that defensive line got nowhere near that guy. But guess how many sacks Oregon had given up to Dante Moore before Indiana came into Autzen? 1. How many sacks in that game? 6. This Indiana defense and this front 7 and how Bryant Haynes, who I think is the most underrated defense coordinator in the country, how they can disrupt the game is different. And I don't think people are necessarily ready for it. And I think that is going to be the edge is can we actually get into the backfield against Julian Saint? And can our receivers, I think how they call the game on Saturday will matter a lot. Igbinosa and Matthews Jr., they hold and they grab. And like Indiana picked on Igbinosa last year in that game. That was a lot closer than the scoreline said.
Sure.
But I think that ultimately it's going to be Indiana's offense actually scoring more than 16, 17 points, whatever that ridiculous number Ohio State's defense is doing. That needs to be the edge in the game. Because I think Indiana's defense can hold Ohio State down. I really do.
So Trent, what if those are the advantages for Indiana? What gives you the biggest cause of concern?
Our secondary, which is this is why Ohio State's the worst matchup for us, which is why I always am constantly having pause when I'm going, Indiana's going to win this game. Our secondary has been known to give up big plays and have miscommunication in the safeties. So Lewis Moore is like leading the Big Ten, I think, in interceptions for safety or whatever, and Farrell on the backside. But their communication at times, like in the Illinois game, we gave a big play. We've given up big long passes to some other teams, explosive. The one touchdown that Oregon scored against our defense was they were playing hurry up. They caught the miscommunication just absolutely wide open on that backside. Dante Moore found him. That's the type of, you can't do that against Jeremiah Moore or Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. You just can't do it like that. They will score touchdowns all day long on you. So that's a weakness that's there. And then on the offensive side of the ball, there's a guy, no one's going to know it because he's the left guard. His name is Drew Evans, and he's been hurt and been out for the last 5 weeks. Well, guess what? Indiana's offensive line has not looked as good as they did against Oregon the last 5 weeks. He was supposedly healthy in the bucket game against Purdue. He didn't play at all, and we're hoping that he's healthy. And if he does, under Drew Evans with Curt Cignetti, has never lost a game because he didn't play in the Ohio State game the year prior and didn't play in that Notre Dame game because he got hurt. So I'm hoping he comes back. Not that left guard can change everything on offensive line. It's probably the least most important position in football, but I'm hoping that continuity comes back because we're going to need it.
One last thing, there's this thought process out there for either team. Actually, you could, but it would seem to fit Ohio State a little bit more just because they're used to winning. That, oh yeah, it's a big, 10 years ago, the Big Ten championship game was the Big Ten championship game, or even 5 years ago. But now it's kind of like this, oh, they're both in the playoff. Does it really matter? Rest people. This is kind of an extra game. We could talk in the off season about the way things should probably be reformatted that would make more sense for games like this to either go away or matter. But for some reason, even though Ohio State has not won this game since 2020, it feels more like, well, this is the ultimate for Indiana. Not that they don't have national championship aspirations, but Ohio State's kind of used to, even though these players aren't, but the institution, the program used to, like, okay, Big Ten championship game, kind of we do that there would be a little bit more hair on fire mentality out of Indiana.
So, Mark, it's funny you bring this up because you're stealing my spin zone if we lose this game. I am going to be like, what? Indiana wasn't showing anything. They want to play the national title. They might see Ohio State in the national title game. So, like, this is my spin zone if they lose. But ultimately, I think Ohio State's probably less motivated. But I do think one thing about Ohio State right now, and I'm seeing it in their fan base, and they're very, very proud of this, is they aren't just trying to win another national title, go back-to-back. I think they're trying to be the first 16-0 team in college football and win a national title. And arguably, listen to some national podcasts as well. Like, if they do that, that is the best season in college football history. Tim, my co-host, cannot dog Ohio State's history anymore if they go 16-0 after winning a national title with a first-year quarterback and two new coordinators and all that stuff. Like, Ryan Day cements himself as the best coach, if not one of the best, if not the best coach in college football. I think that stuff does matter to Ryan Day. I mean, for the pile of poo that he got dumped on him for losing to Michigan 4 straight times, and like how he looked like he death after that game, staring at the flag planting in the middle of the field. I think that stuff weighs on him, and I think he wants to do it. And so I do think Ohio State will go for it, and I think Indiana will go for it. There's some depth issues talking about in your chat. Indiana's relatively healthy right now. And I don't think they really worry about what Kirby Smart say this week of like, you can get hurt on a Tuesday practice. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can get hurt anytime. I think that's what it's going to be, is it's there. But there's no doubt Indiana is going to go for it. Indiana is going to try to win, because I think if they win this and then eventually lose in the playoff, they're going to actually look at this as a successful season, which I know Ohio State would not.
So, Trent, I appreciate you being here. Kirkwood and Dunn podcast is right here on YouTube, and you can tell your sidekick there that even though what he said I think is completely ridiculous, I'm sure he's a great guy and knows his football otherwise. But thanks so much for taking the invite.
Yeah, I'll get on to him for ducking you. That's the only thing I'll do. I'll say, are you sure you're ducking people for this comment? But hopefully people tune in tomorrow. So I appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, man.